Uriah Hall here. We saw at the end of your UFC journey, it felt like maybe you weren't enjoying it as much as you'd had at the beginning of your career. And I see you now. It seems like you're enjoying it again. You're doing something new. You're trying something new out. Are you enjoying this process as you're going through it and this new journey for you?
You said exactly what's happening, enjoying the process. And I think a lot of times myself, and I think a lot of people can attest to this, we forget to enjoy the process. It's like, all right, let's just get to that destination. And I think most of the time it's that journey to get there. And, you know, the UFC journey has been rocky. It was up and down. Hell yeah, there's a lot of politics involved and stuff. There were fights that didn't make sense that I had to do, whether it's matchmaking and stuff. But I make no mistakes. I fought with some killers. Yeah. There's some great people in the UFC. You know, Mick Maynard is one of them. He's a great matchmaker. You know, a lot of the people on the back end. But the pressure coming in here, you know, I had to train more one-dimensional type of fighting. I didn't feel it was just too much. And plus, I really think I'm just getting comfortable in my skin as I'm getting older. You know, all the shit that I thought would matter, it just really doesn't matter. Like, I finally realized nothing lasts forever, and I'm finally seeing that there's a bunch of fake people, and there's a stigma, and you either go that route to be a part of it, or you remain true, which is hard. Sure. And I'm so true to myself that, you know, the world's not gonna really favor you sometimes. That's okay, and I love that because I get to go to bed and be like, yeah, I'm me.
Do you find that you've had that love of the game again as you've been doing this?
You know, I always had the love of the game, but I think not being in a routine kind of took me to a weird place that I had to kind of get back out of. And again, I spoke about being identified, and I've always loved it, but I need to stay regimented. You know, I'm great discipline. I have a great discipline regimen, but if I'm not in a routine, you know, I'll fall out of element.
Sure. I mean, you obviously you fought Anderson. You were kind of his way out of the UFC.
Way out.
Have you seen him, like, have you had interactions with him throughout the week and throughout the lead up to this? And what's that relationship like now with you guys?
Awesome, man. I saw him training. We went to the room to throw some punches and do some sprints. And again, he's always encouraging. How's your family? How's everything? He sees me. And I love that because I idolize him so much. I respect him to death. And people are asking, would you fight him? I'm like, no, I don't want to fight Anderson. I want to train. I want to hang out with the guy. I want to get a beer. I want to learn Portuguese, whatever. But he's been just so positive, and I love that how he carries himself, whether it was inside and outside of the octagon. And I know Anderson; he's a competitor at heart. You heard him; he's like, I'm getting ready for some jiu-jitsu match, you know. So I love that about him. He's such a free spirit, and he inspired me how he carried himself then as a kid, and he still does it now. And to hang out a couple times with your heroes, it's a cool feeling.
I mean, I remember speaking to you before that fight, and it was very like mixed emotions going into it, right? It felt like you were battling a little bit of like, this is my idol, I don't want to do this to him. When you look back on it, is that a positive experience in your mind, a negative experience? Like, how do you look back on that fight?
Man, I mean, there's so much that go into it. Like, for instance, the fight, you know, like, I think Dana came out right away and said, oh, that fight was trash. He probably threw 2 or 3 punches. Meanwhile, I'm like, it's Anderson fucking Silva. You know, I think Michael Bisping was saying some shit while commentating. Like, he needs to get in there and throw more punches. I'm like, motherfucker, you almost got knocked out. Like, what are you talking about? This is Anderson Silva we're talking about. You just run at Anderson Silva. And not to mention, I think I still idolize that. Oh my God, I'm fighting my idol. How do I let go of these emotions to hurt him? And everyone's like, stop being a bitch and do it. And then my emotions like, be a bitch, you know? So yeah, I was battling that, but you're not supposed to talk about that. You sign up for a job, do your fucking job, get the fuck out. Yeah, but sometimes my job's a little challenging. And, you know, I'm in that challenging process of it. But looking back, you know, I feel like it's something that I can check off my list. Whether it was a boring fight to people, but being in there for those, 15 minutes was one of the greatest times of my life.
It's funny you say you're not supposed to talk about those things, because even just yesterday at the open workouts, right, I think you touched a lot of people with opening up about the struggles you went through after your MMA retirement, the depression, and even just, you know, briefly suicidal thoughts, things like that. Do you feel like it's important for fighters to talk about these type of things openly and sort of use the platform in that way? Because that's not something we hear a lot in this game.
Yeah, what's that dumbass Fox lady, that dumb bitch, shut up and dribble to LeBron?
Oh, yeah, Laura Ingraham?
That dumb bitch, yeah. A lot of times people are saying that. Shut up and fight. Shut up and dribble. Shut up and hit the ball. Like, I'm a person too, motherfucker. Like, really? I'm not allowed to have emotions or feelings? No, because we sit here on our couch eating Cheetos and we want to win because we're betting on you. Well, fuck you. I'm allowed to be myself. I want to be myself at the end of the day. And I don't want to just speak for athletes to do that. I think everyone should do it. Everyone should be encouraged to talk about stuff like that. I mean, think about it. The world's really changing, man. You can't say shit no more, and you start to fall into this little bubble of who can I trust and all that stuff. But I remain true to myself. And that's what I love about me. I get to be me. I get to go down swinging being me. So I encourage people, whether it's athletes, to talk about stuff like that. Yeah, it's sensitive, but what isn't? You're a human being. We're not allowed to have feelings. I say, get your demons, sit them down, and tell them what to do. Tom, Luke, and Harry, you gotta go. You haven't paid rent, and what the fuck are you still doing here? Train these bitches. You know what I'm saying? Train your demons.
Tom, Luke, and Harry, is that the name of yours?
Yeah. Tom, Luke, and Harry.
When you spoke about the loss of identity, and that to me felt very powerful, right? Because you're right, you do something for so long, and then all of a sudden it's gone, and it's just, what am I at this point?
Right.
Do you feel like when you speak to teammates, fellow fighters, is that pervasive amongst the fight game of just that sense of losing that identity once this is no longer here?
I haven't really got a chance to speak to a lot of MMA fighters, but I spoke to ex-football players, and they visit that, and they seem so fine and everything, but they got out of that element. I was just getting into that element, so I didn't even know how. And, I spoke to a guy in LA, and he was like, listen, man, I've been there. I know exactly what you're talking about. I've done football for X amount of years. And when I got cut, it was like, what do I do? I don't get that recognition anymore. You were washed up this, you were that. And, yeah, it helped, But one of the main thing and the brave thing I ever did was talk about it, And I had to have that one-on-one with myself first. I encourage people to have one-on-ones. Think about it. You know yourself more than anybody else. You're alone with yourself more than anything. So you know the shit that you do you're not supposed to do. But to talk about the things that are holding you back as a person, it's encouraging. For years I didn't want to talk to a therapist. It's weak. Fuck that, I know more. I still really haven't, but I feel like a lot of my friends who know me closely give me advice, and I pick and choose and I take. And the main thing for me was that surroundness. I think that 5 friends, think about it, 5 friends that you never have to explain yourself to. Hey Chuck, I'm stuck in Brazil, bro. Oh, I got you, bro. I'll be there in a couple days. People you don't have to explain yourself to. So that's what I'm surrounding myself with. Those people. And you got to be careful who you say friends. My mentor taught me this. He's like, he lives in Texas for 5 or 11 years, and he's like, I got 5 friends. And he's a multi-millionaire. And I'm like, how you have 5 friends? And he's like, you got to be careful how you throw that word out. A friend is someone that you don't have to explain yourself to. And ever since then, I really thought about who I call my friend or who I hang out with.
I wonder, do you think fighters in particular are susceptible to this sort of thing? Because MMA, it's such a fiercely aggressive place, right? Like you said, you can't be weak, you can't appear weak, you can't talk about that. Do you think fighters inherently are just more prone to this sort of thing post-retirement?
Post-retirement?
Well, just in general, I guess.
I think it's hard for them because here's the thing. You got to get paid. I missed weight back in maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I ignored my health because if I don't show up, I don't get paid. And I actually made the weight. I just didn't make it to the scale. I collapsed. I had an acute kidney failure, which, I was close to death. And, I was literally trying to die to make weight to get paid, die for the sport. And they threw me under the bus right away. And I was like, I went out there, I try to die, and people don't see that. And it's important to talk about stuff like that, but you don't get paid. You don't really get the recognition you want. You don't get to win the popularity contest. You're not a character anymore. It's like a video game. Everybody that's watching these sports, they pick and choose. That's why they wear T-shirts or get the curly hair, whatever. We pick and choose because we're trying to find something to either relate to or to support with. And if I can resonate with anyone, like a kid in the stand that hears me than the other 50,000, I'm all about that. Because maybe my message is to save his life or her life. Never know.
Absolutely. Well, in the last 2 things, just switching gears a tiny bit, we saw at the end of this press conference, Jake Paul and Anderson Silva, this bet kind of coming out of nowhere, and all of a sudden MMA Fighters Union talk and things like that. You were in that world for so long. I know there's frustrations you had with that world. What does something like that sound like to you? Does that when you hear what they're proposing right there?
Well, first of all, Jake Paul's a smart mofo. He saw what he did. He set a perfect trap for Anderson. So Anderson's like, fuck, should I lose? But I think it's amazing. I think it's great. I don't know if he's doing that for social media. I hope he can be true to his word. But I definitely think that's something we should focus on. I mean, I'm going out there to fucking get my brain cells battered away. Why wouldn't I have the proper health insurance for that longevity, like afterwards, you know? I mean, these groups are multi-million-dollar companies, you know? Why not? But we're all expendable. So to have a union is like, okay, it's a safety net. And a lot of those don't have that. Granted, I'm not taking anything away from the UFC that gave me the opportunity. You know, I'm not here to bash them. I have great friends in the organization. But at the same time, it's important to do what's right. And, you know, if we can do something that's right to make our generation, our people, our athletes better, then why not?
I guess last thing, I mean, does something like that feel actually like legitimately viable? And like, what would it take? I guess would it take like an Anderson and a GSP to get involved? Like, how does something like that actually come to
It would
fruition?
take a lot of higher ups, a Dustin, a Connor, somebody with a name, or one of them rich dudes from Abu Dhabi, you know, they got a lot of money, but like, hey, I'll put all y'all motherfuckers on payroll, you know, whatever. Sure. But I think it will take a lot of higher ups to do that, because, you know, guys that are going in these leagues, you know, they're fight for 5 and 5, they're fight for 10 and 10, because they need that, and they need that exposure, and they're thinking, I'm hungry, I'll do whatever it takes. So, yeah, man, we need it, but if the right people don't step up that can elevate that, it's not going to happen. To give you a perfect example to understand that, it's like, you know, racism. You know, it's great black people are talking about it, but can you imagine if a lot of white folks start joining in? Fuck, everybody's going to start listening. So I'm not just going to be like, let's focus on the black person. Let's focus on a broader horizon group. You know, white folks, they start talking about that stuff, then yeah, it'll be bring more awareness. So yeah, I think if people that are in that league or the higher ups or have more of a, I don't know, leverage can do that, it will definitely help.
Uriah Hall, good luck on Saturday. Appreciate the candor and appreciate the time as always.
Thank you, brother.